Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the Columbia Heights Public Schools Independent School District 13 regular school board meeting of Tuesday, June 10th, 2014. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's call roll, please.
Meyer.
Here.
Landwehr.
Here.
Larkin.
Here.
Bardell.
Here.
Palmer.
Here.
Wheat here.
Thank you very much. As is our custom, Columbia Heights Public Schools creates worlds of opportunity for every learner in partnership with supportive small-town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. The core values in this district are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. At this time, we have a Heights Lights. The board will honor Kira Erickson, Katie Bloom, and Audrey Cruz for their third place finish in the Minnesota School High School League State Synchronized Swimming Meet in the long trio division. Yep. So I do have a little paragraph here. The 2014 Columbia Heights High School Synchro team was coached by Aaron Schroer and Lindsay Camp. The team consisted of 12 swimmers and 2 managers throughout the season. Each swimmer completed well at all dual meets, leading to a successful showing at the state tournament. The team placed 7th overall, and the long trail team of Kira Erickson, Katie Bloom, and Audrey Cruz placed 3rd in their division. Kira, Katie, and Audrey have competed for the Heights Synchro team for 6 years, and all 3 were captains this year. They exemplified great leadership and hard work throughout the season, leading to a great finish in their last swim with the program. So, with that, okay.
This is Katie.
Yep, our first honor read this evening, Katie Bloom, is recognized for placing 3rd for long trail team in the Minnesota State High School League State Synchronized Swimming Meet. Congratulations, Katie. He wants to take our picture. The board wants to shake your hand. And Audrey Cruz is recognized for placing 3rd for long trio team in the Minnesota State High School League State Synchronized Swimming Meet. Congratulations, Audrey. Well done. Again, congratulations, well done. Kira couldn't be with us tonight, but we send our congratulations to her as well. All right. Next on our agenda is agenda approval, adjustments, announcements, and correspondence. We have approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Lori. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. Announcements, June 11th, Wednesday, it's the last day of school for students. June 11th, Wednesday, 7 p.m., Columbia Heights High School graduation, Columbia Heights High School. June 17th, Tuesday, 6 p.m., school board work session here in the community room. June 24th, Tuesday, 7 p.m., regular school board meeting here in the community room. August 13th, Wednesday, 7 p.m., regular school board meeting here in the community room. We're already talking about August. Superintendent Kelly, any correspondence?
Mr. Chair, members, there's none at this time.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time, any communication to the board, at this time, any citizen or employee may briefly address the school board. The board will listen to brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request that the administration follow up. Board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. Anyone like to come before the board? Don't see any volunteers, so we'll move on to our consent agenda, which consists of minutes of the May 13th and May 27th school board meetings, a personnel report, and a treasurer's report for April 2014. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Lori. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion is carried. Discussion, reports, information items. Board members can report on board activities since the last regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. Lori, should we start with you tonight?
Sure, I'll make it short. I have no report this week, so.
All right, thank you. Ted?
I was at the policy subcommittee meeting before this meeting, and we discussed the bullying policy, and that will be coming up. Just a preview, basically everything's out right out of the statute, so it's a pretty strongly statutory, and actually the whole thing is, so. The all-night party is coming up. Attended, been working on that. If you haven't registered, I don't know if this will get to any seniors, but please register. We need everybody and to sign up as soon as possible. It's $10 if you sign up early and $15 if you sign up at the door. I attended a WEMAP executive committee meeting. Actually, a couple. WEMAP is in the process of interviewing and hiring an interim superintendent, so I've been involved in that. We think we have narrowed down to 3, and the WEMAP board will vote on that on Wednesday. I was at a Rotary meeting this week, or last week, got invited and with Chair Bardell, and actually got to speak to a Fridley School Board member, which is very interesting, Mary Kay Delville. Attended the softball banquet for the girls softball team, and the girls softball team did fabulous this year, so a lot to celebrate there and a lot to look forward to next year. Had a meeting with Superintendent Kelly, Director Holmgren, and Director Hennekens regarding the levy and the individualized or personalized learning initiative that we'll be discussing. And attended a couple chamber meetings. Attended a state chamber meeting where the state chamber is talking about workforce development and communicating with schools so that the business community can have their needs and requirements communicated in partnership with the education community. So I think that makes a lot of sense. There are a lot of jobs now that are not getting filled because there aren't enough candidates that have the skills. So to have that coordination, I think would really help. And then attended a couple Lions meetings. So that's all.
All right, thank you. John?
Thanks. I had the opportunity, actually snuck in at the tail end of the Highland picnic this year. Managed to nose my way into a pitcher somewhere, I guess is what I hear. But they sounds like they had a really huge turnout as well, so happy to hear that. Attended the Columbia Academy Choir concert, and the kids did a great job. It was really fun to watch. I had the opportunity to meet with Superintendent Kathy Kelly. Picked up my yard sign, got that proudly displayed in my yard. Had an impromptu meeting with Member Meyer, and then had an opportunity to attend the chair meeting this evening. So that's it.
All right. Laura?
First, can I ask if somebody can log me on so I can see? Yeah. Okay, and then I can start with something. All of a sudden I realized I wasn't logged on. I didn't want to interrupt anything.
That's okay.
Well, I also attended the choir concert over at the Academy, and actually turned out to be quite a lovely evening. I was a little concerned about so many people in such a small room, but it looked like the kids were the ones that were up on stage. They were very, very warm, but I was pretty comfortable out in the audience. They were just fabulous. Anyway, I also attended a 916 board meeting, and I guess there was a couple of, there's probably one thing of note right now, is that there was a slight, some changes in how they count the hours for the students, and I guess I'd probably get some more details on how that's all calculated now. I guess there's a bit of a change to it. So even though it looks, Overall, the budget for 916 has gone up $28,000 across all of the districts. How the charges are working, it's not gonna work out too much. It looks like it's a jump, but it's not really. It's just how it's credited. I'm hoping I can get more of a breakdown on this at some point, if that would be possible. So, okay, I'm not explaining it very well because it was very confusing. I also had an opportunity to attend 4 graduations with 916. I've attended both the Wells South and the Wells North program, Metro Heights Academy. Lovely facility. They got paint on the walls now, and they actually had 56 graduates this year out of there, which is just fantastic. So we got to meet a number of them, very impressive young people. I think they're going to do some really good things with their lives. The keynote speaker there, the student, she said she was very, very happy that she also earned 5 college credits as well while she was attending the academy. So she was very excited about that. She said she's the first one in her family to be going to college as well as graduating. So that is amazing. I also attended the ALP and CAP graduation as well. And a lot of these students here, they took a lot of the vocational courses, like auto dismantling and things like that. So a lot of them had job offers and further education opportunities, which was very cool. And one of the other things they're talking about over at 916 is they're going to be looking at starting an apprenticeship program. So for teaching students some of the skills that are more hands-on. So I'm excited about that as well. I also attended the policy subcommittee meeting today to discuss the substantial changes in the state's statute with regards to bullying policies within the school. More to come on that.
All right, thank you. Missy?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report? Okay. I also was at the policy subcommittee meeting, and more to come. I also attended the MSD meeting, and essentially, I'm not going to report out on it in detail, but essentially what it was legislative recap on policy changes and pending bills and what passed, what didn't pass, and also financial bills and sort of the intricacies of that, so. Yep.
I forgot to mention, I apologize, I was also at the WEMAP graduation. I was one of 4 board members there, so it was a great
Okay.
event.
And I also had a meeting prior to the board meeting with Superintendent Kelly. And that's it. Superintendent Kelly.
Well, Mr. Chair and members, I too attended that AMSD Board of Directors meeting, and as Member Bardell mentioned, there really was a big focus on legislative policy changes and financial implications for the Minnesota school districts. It was a delight to hear Mr. Melcher giving us the what for on what we could or could not do with our money. And we are studying that in detail, and I'm sure when we do work studies with you, we'll be talking more about that in the future. Today I spent almost a full day at AMSD on their executive board retreat. It has been a number of years since they have looked at their mission and strategic plan, and so we are working with TeamWorks, and we will also have another meeting in July. Very interesting day. I had a wonderful site visit to the high school to review programs and building concerns, and I want to thank the high school for inviting me over. An organizational meeting with the custodians, the cooks, the EAs, and the clerical on negotiations, and there will be a closed session at our next school board work study on June 17th for the purposes of negotiation strategy, so I wanted to give you a heads up on that. We had a delightful groundbreaking at Valley View Elementary, and I know a few of you were there. It was very well attended, and I want to thank the school board members who came, the city leaders, particularly Mayor Peterson, who was there, and all the construction and finance folks, parents all over the place, and a wonderful Valley View choir who sang to us on a beautiful evening. So that construction will be underway, and we look forward to the rapid expansion of Valley View Elementary. Principal Busman and Principal Robleski and Director Miller, Activities Director Miller, and I spent a pleasant evening over in Minneapolis last night at the Hennepin Theater Trust Showcase. It was the Spotlight Awards, and the Columbia Heights Public Schools had multiple outstanding performers, either in leading or supporting roles. It was fun to see them on the Hennepin Theater, the Orpheum Theater stage, dancing and singing and performing. It was a great night, and we also received an award there for community service. So congratulations to the Columbia Heights Public Schools Theater Department and all their adjunct staff, and especially for our emerging performing artists. Well done. I already have attended some graduation parties, and I'm looking forward to attending more after graduation on June 11th. And I, too, have had multiple meetings with school board members and attended the school board policy committee meeting and the school board chair meeting. And I want to thank each and every one of you for spending time with me in the last couple of weeks. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, our first, next agenda item, information item. The board will be presented with information on American Indian education. We have Nicole Halby, our Director of Student Services, and Amina Aftadal, Fridley Public Schools Director of Educational Services. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Bardell, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. It's my pleasure to have a colleague of mine from Fridley Public Schools, Amina Aftadal. She is the Director of Educational Services, and she is here to speak, and I'm here to support her and speak as well about our American Indian Education Collaborative that we have between Fridley, Spring Lake Park, and Columbia Heights. So welcome, Amina.
Thank you. I want to just thank the board and the superintendent and the chair for inviting me here today. I'm just wanted to share a little bit of information about our Indian education program. One of the reasons that Director Halaby has invited me is because we do share that program as a collaborative with Spring Lake Park as well. And I just wanted to let you know that I have a little bit of information about the trend information about the students being served and the dollars, because we are the fiscal agent in Fridley for that particular program. Over the past 5 years, the program has fluctuated slightly in the amount of dollars that have been allocated through the federal grant program. We have served approximately 200 students in the last couple of years. That's down from the 244 that we did in 2010, 2011, and so that number continues to decrease. And that's the total number of students combined from all 3 school districts. The total allocation for the 13-14 school year was impacted by federal sequestration, and so we saw a significant drop in funds from the 13-14 to the from the 12-13 to the 13-14 year, from a $62,000 allocation to about a $49,000 allocation. That really impacted the number of hours in which we could serve and the number of resources that we could provide to that particular program. For next year, our allocation, our Indian Education Grant we just were notified today that our grant has been approved with a budget of $47,300, which is also a decrease from last year's allocation as well. And so we see those dollars continuing to decrease. At the same time, we're continuing to try to provide a level of service that is allocated to the different school districts. When we look at the student counts, the student count in 10-11 was 244 students. We saw a significant decrease then for the 13-14 school year, where we only served 217 students. The students that we are serving do not represent necessarily every student who identifies themselves as a Native American in your registration process. Instead, it does represent the number of students who hold tribal certificates and are able to produce those for the Indian education documentation. With that,
All right.
I would invite any questions.
Questions? Comments?
I was actually kind of the one that kind of initiated. I got really excited about the program and everything, and I wanted to learn as much. I so appreciate you coming here and giving us some of the nuts and bolts. I would really love to hear about how, what exactly constitutes Indian education, you know? That doesn't seem like a whole lot of resource for what's being provided, but I don't know what that means. I know I got a little bit of maybe some sort of cultural projects. I mean, did we go into history? I mean, I want to know, I really want to know everything.
Sure. When we put together the grant, we are limited in our scope and our objectives by the program goals, and so we are instructed to select from those goals. Our objectives for the 13-14 school year are increasing school readiness is one of the objectives, and the service that we provide for that is to increase parent involvement, make Native parents more aware of preschool program, make them more aware of literacy programs, things that the school districts can offer, and opportunities for their children to participate. The other objective is to increase the integration of Indian-specific content into the curriculum, and through that we do a lot of culturally responsive academic support in which students are invited to participate in culturally relevant activities, look at history of various tribes of the area, and participate in different types of cultural events. Many of them are artistic. The other objective is to increase knowledge of cultural identity, in which students do some exposure to language study as well as cultural stories, mythologies, other types of historical pieces as well. And then the final goal is to increase parent participation, in which we do some parent outreach, we do home visits, we do some community events such as a powwow and other types of family picnic, family movie night, and some of those particular types of activities to invite families to participate and share with other families with Native history.
All right.
I have
Oh,
so many
go ahead.
more questions. I just don't know where to begin. Okay, so how much student, how much of the focus, boy, that doesn't sound right. If I say it's how much of the focus is on the student, because it's all on the student, but I meant specifically like with educating the student. Am I asking the right question?
Not
You know what I'm
sure.
trying-
Let me try to respond
Okay.
and say we do quite a bit of direct student contact.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Quite a bit, because we do have 200 and plus students that are spread across 3 school districts and multiple classrooms across the district.
only imagine.
That students actually, and we only have 1 coordinator with an assistant, that students really only spend a very limited amount of time with direct face-to-face service. They probably are only seeing the coordinator maybe once a month. For a limited amount of scheduled time. The time is during the school day, and so students are excused from whatever classrooms they are for that particular amount of time. And it's usually 45 to 60 minutes at a period. But I will tell you that it is very limited, and it rarely is more than once a month.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of the just wondering about that. So there's more time spent on basically, making sure that that there's more educational opportunities with less of a focus on the cultural.
The activities that are occurring during that time are very focused on cultural
Oh,
history.
yeah, I know. No,
Cultural
I
history.
meant as far as how it's allocated. I was wondering how much is direct teaching.
I would say when I look at the schedule and the types of activities that the coordinator is doing, I would say about 85% of the time is spent on direct student
Wow,
service.
okay.
The rest of it is organization of parent involvement events, communication with families, scheduling the activities themselves
Across
in the
3
buildings in the 3
districts?
districts, home visits, those types of things.
Does she sleep?
It is a very limited number of resources that we have available with the program.
That's kind of the impression I'm getting there. So.
And with the reduced funds, I would say this year, without a doubt, 95% of the funds go to fund the personnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that usually is the case. Okay.
All right. Any other comments, questions?
Of course, I have one more. Now, I know that as far as funding some of the activities, that would is that done through like parenting fundraisers, or does that all have to come out of the budget, or how do you go about that?
All resources come from the allocated budget. There is a small additional budget, which is a reimbursement budget for Johnson O'Malley, which can be used for some supplies. And so they do buy art supplies, leather, beads, other types of things for some of the powwow preparation and they making the ceremonial dress and those types of things. And so they have been using the Johnson O'Malley for supplies, essentially. There are some limited contributions from each of the districts that have gone into those budgets as well, and those come from the general funds of the school districts themselves.
Okay, so there's no way to do any, is there an outlet or whatever to be able to help with some of those supplies or anything? I mean, does it have to come through the school district?
Well, people can make private donations, just as Northeast Bank helped us with the food for the powwow, so.
And who would they make that to?
Bill.
Well, we are the fiscal agent,
Yeah,
and so
Fridley, yeah.
they certainly can send those dollars to us. We have funds set up in order to
Okay, good.
collect those funds and then distribute those to the program.
Okay, wonderful.
All right. Any other questions for Mina or Nicole? If not, thank you very much, and thank you for coming and
Thanks.
sharing the information about the education program with us.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you so
Thanks.
much.
All right, next on our agenda this evening is we're going to go through the K-12 handbooks, and our star-studded cast this evening includes Adam Nelson from the high school, Rick Otsby from the Columbia Academy, and Jeff Sosick from North Park representing the elementaries.
Chair Bardell, Superintendent Kelly, members of the board, good evening.
Good evening.
Well, after an exhaustive review of the elementary handbook, we have found a single edit, and it is under the media release form. And previously, it had advised parents to send a note if they wish their student to not be used in photographs to the district office. What happened with that note is it went to the district office, and then it came to the building secretary. So we changed that wording just so that it would go directly to the building secretary. That is a procedure that has changed in the past year or two, and so it was a change that needed to be made for our elementaries. Questions or concerns? That's the shortest you're ever going to get from me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board Chair Bardell, Superintendent Kelly, members of the school board, good evening. Thank you for having me, giving me this opportunity to talk a little bit about our handbook. I got a couple changes. I got a couple more than Jeff does, so. Yeah, just some updates. Well, two things first. Our handbook is available electronically over the school website. Also, if a parent or student requests it, we can give them a hard copy of that. It's available also in English or Spanish to different families. Year changes, school calendar, our staff contact information, both those have been updated. We also updated our parent-teacher conferences to reflect the 4 dates we have for the next school year. Columbia Academy school rules. We have 2 school rules at Columbia Academy. We're going to come to school to learn. We're also going to use CARES as our guide. They start that in the elementary schools. We follow that. We try and perfect it. We use cooperation, assertiveness, responsibility, empathy, and self-control. We teach this to our students in different environments. We have posters around our school, in the hallways in the classroom that kind of reflect our belief in CARES and our school, our 2 school rules that we come to school to learn, and we use those as our guide. I'm going to let Brian and Amy talk more about our personal learning initiative, but because of timing last year, it wasn't in our handbook. It wasn't in our handbook last year, so we added some language for next school year's handbook. And just some other changes and updates. We're always trying to limit disruptions in the classroom. Over at Valley View, they're really sensitive of the last 15 minutes of the school day. We've adopted that. We'd like to practice that and use that as best practice. We're trying to have our, if parents are trying to pick up their students before 3 o'clock, that would be fine, but between 3 and 3:15, we'd like to limit the classroom disruptions. If it's not an emergency, just having that parent wait until dismissal. In the cafeteria, we're doing a lot of composting, so we wanted to have some language addressing that. And this is something we've always used as best practice, having our students who are in after-school activities, they need to leave our building and our campus by 3:30 unless they're under the direct supervision of a staff member or in a part of a school activity. Cafeteria, our school lunches are now $2.50. That's an increase of 10 cents from last year. Thank you, guys. Any questions?
Questions?
Well, that was pretty short, too. I'm impressed.
Mine's a little longer.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Saving the best for last,
I
right?
guess.
Okay.
So, Chair Bardell, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly, it should be.
This one?
Let's try that one.
Okay. Communication plan.
I don't think, nope.
Okay, sorry.
Preview of coming attractions.
Right here. Right here.
Elementary. Let's try the elementary and secondary one.
This one?
Yep.
No, no.
Mr. Perkins. I do have it. I can pop it in real quick.
Oh, we're gonna try it again. It looks like it didn't get in there. Come on, is there a way to speed that up? Right here.
Huh?
Which one? This one?
Oh, come up and say, numbers on it. Nope, not that one.
Did you do your homework, Adam?
I did. It would just be coming up.
This one.
Trying to jump up on it.
Mhm.
Okay. Just drop that there. I sent it to Dwayne. Coming up.
Not working.
Do I have it memorized? No. I definitely can take you through some new stuff. It's too bad because our students designed the cover and the back cover this year for Student Planner. We had a junior, Carla Sanchez de la Rosa, performed our cover in our design studio class, and then our back cover does have our school song, and that was by sophomore Nikita Pudovin. So that was voted on by the students, which would be elected out of 5. So that was very nice. We do have the lunch changes on there, increasing 10 cents. We did add a few things dealing with discipline rules. We just added the word confiscation into the different types of disciplinary actions that could be taking place at the school. Trying to go off the top of my head here. We do have the district calendar updates. We do have the staff updates in there also. And we also added a little key point at the end dealing with athletic fees and changes. I mean, those are the same as last year, but we also added the NCAA clearinghouse rules, just to make that clear for seniors, and that the process should be started as a junior going into their senior year of high school, and speaking with activities director Matt Miller and their dean to make sure that they're on track and apply for the clearinghouse. And I'm very sorry the PowerPoint isn't coming up. Did spend some time on it, but were we able to get it on there?
Sounds like technical difficulties,
All right.
maybe a
I can
defective
definitely
flash
send it
drive.
to everybody though, just to make sure it goes in.
We also got copies in our packets that I think
Yes,
the changes are all highlighted in,
Yep.
so we're able to peek at those
Okay.
as well.
Any questions, I guess, with any of those at all? No. All right.
Sounds pretty
Thank you.
Reasonable.
Thank you very much for your
Nice,
time.
nice
Sorry
job
about
off the top of your head.
that. Yes, trying to.
It's clear you
Yes.
did do your homework.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda this evening, the board will receive an update on the Personalized Learning Initiative at Columbia Academy. And this evening, we have Brian Hennekens, our Director of Technology and Security Services, Dwayne Burkus, our Director of Teaching and Learning, and Amy Olschlager, a Personalized Learning Initiative Facilitator. Welcome.
Chair Bardell, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. Hopefully, we have a little bit more success with all that. I'm going to, I think, let Dwayne, Mr. Burgess, kick it off here and kind of lead us into the Personalized Learning Initiative update for this evening.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Superintendent Kelly, Chair Bardell, members of the board, with Brian, our Director Hennekens, and Amy Olschlager, who is our Personalized Learning Initiative facilitator down at Columbia Academy. Two people who have been the driving force for the what some people would call the iPad or the one-to-one, but we like to call the Personalized Learning Initiative there. With all of the things that we do, we are looking at what can we do for the betterment of our students, how do we create worlds of opportunities for every learner. And with this process, we have really been looking at our core values. And I think when you point to which one today, I would say at that very last one, innovation, that this is something very new. It's happening in more and more districts, but everybody is learning who's in this point how to make it work. There's no clear path of how you go about having a personalized learning initiative. You have to be willing to get out there and learn. And so I've been very appreciative for the guidance that we've received and the hard work of the technology department with that. With all of this though, and I think the example there is across our departments, but also with our students, that we're relying on collaboration to really be one of those key fundamental qualities of the work that students are doing, that it's no longer sitting alone in your desk, and even though we're calling it a personalized learning initiative, it's about collaboration. It's about working together, learning how we can learn with those around us. So I'm going to turn it back over to the two of them to walk you through the presentation.
Thank you. So if you can remember back quite a while ago, May before last school, or this past school year, 2013, we talked about kind of our focus areas. We talked about self-paced differentiated instruction, use of a technology to individualize the instruction. We talked a lot about formative assessment and the power of formative assessment and increasing rigor. We talked a lot about student engagement. We talked a lot about equity, making sure that the students had equal access to the tools. Talked about flexible tools, and at that time we had chosen the iPad as from the hardware side as that flexible tool. And increasing the rigor leading to college and career readiness, and that focus of college and career readiness. And we've talked a lot about our pathway and our technology plan aligning to that pathway and our life skills that we've developed over this last 2 years. So just to kind of recap a little bit of where we were this past school year, in June 2013, we had a PLI Professional Development Day, that Personalized Learning Initiative Professional Development Day. It was 2 days of work with the teachers, mainly led by Michelle Olschlager. And then September 2013, we started out with that Star Tech Week school-wide, focusing in on that digital citizenship and focusing in on proper use of the iPads, how we're going to treat the iPads. And really we're mindful of keeping it slow, and really setting some patterns for the kids to be successful. And then in October, we rolled out the iPads to the 6th grade. And initially, the iPads only stayed in school. And again, we wanted to make sure that we went slow so we could avoid missing some things or avoid the kids not being ready for them, jumping too fast. In December, we piloted the devices going home before Christmas break. It went very well. And then in January, they started going home every after Christmas break every day. And now we've collected the devices. Collected. And we're getting ready for our planning for next year, in which we'll talk more about, the details of what happened this year. And again, that PLI professional development, that's going to be happening in the next couple weeks. I would touch, just because on that gradual implementation result, one of the things that we talked a lot about, we're concerned about losing devices, broken devices, and we feel very, very good about this chart and how many devices we had broken, how many devices we lost. And so that I think that speaks a lot to us being mindful of how we roll this out. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Olschlager.
And I'm just going to walk through each of those points of the focuses that we had this year with the Personalized Learning Initiative and tell you what we've been doing and what the kids have been up to in the classroom. The first one was that self-paced differentiated instruction, and you'll see from these pictures the kids working in math class. Flipped math was a huge focus this year, a big undertaking of our math department, creating videos and online content that the kids could access at home or at school. That allowed them to work at their own pace to meet their own math goals. It also freed up that teacher to be able to meet individually with each student who needed support, or to meet with small groups to provide the instruction just at the level that they needed it when they needed it. We also did a survey of the students this past spring, and they had a lot of things to say about using iPads and about the Personalized Learning Initiative in general. One of them said, "It's helped me a lot since I can go at my own pace and I can always turn in my work from home." We've had teachers that say there's no excuse for missing work because it's all right there. It's helped me because I move quicker in some subjects, so I'm able to go at my own pace. So it's also beneficial for those kids that are at the top. They're able to be accelerated. They're not held back by the pace of the rest of the class. We're using that technology, that tool. This year it was the iPad to individualize instruction, and we've really focused on it's not about that device, it's about what we're doing with that tool to really bring relevant learning to the classroom. We had a video that was made that highlights kind of the best features of the Personalized Learning Initiative and what those kids are doing in action. So this will show you much better than me telling you.
The Personalized Learning Initiative is our opportunity to create curriculum that meets kids at the level they're ready to learn.
We want 49, so how many seven times what?
So I'll come into the classroom and kids will be all over the classroom. Sometimes they're working independently, sometimes there's a pod of 2 or 3 students working together. There's always 1 or 2 students with a teacher, and everybody's doing their own thing.
The idea in math is that we flipped the classroom a little bit, where we have videos online and lessons online so that the students can go at their own pace and they can go a little bit faster if they understand it, go a little slower if they need help. I'm meeting with students all day.
125 per 5?
Yes, so what is that per 1? So it's pretty much one-to-one help for them. I feel like you can really see where kids are daily.
The students have responded by being more engaged and learning.
Kids can work at different paces, and like the kids that need a little more help can get help, and the kids that just zoom right through it can zoom right through it. Kids are more involved instead of doodling on their paper, because I know I used to do that a lot.
It's been really fun. You go into a science or an engineering class and the kids are videotaping slinkies.
So this would be high frequency, low amplitude.
I think that the most exciting thing for me this year has been able to see the creativity in each and every classroom and how teachers are able to utilize this technology in such creative and engaging ways for these kids. And taking the engineering process and showing it in a visual way and then sharing it with others. In social studies, some of the presentations or just taking the vocabulary that they're learning and communicating it with others to see all the different ways that teachers are using the technology in order to engage the kids and also to really help them communicate what they're learning.
One of the things that's real important in our district, not just in our school, are the 4 C's. Creativity, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. And we believe that those 4 C's are vital to our kids being career and college ready.
It is exciting. It's exciting because we are able to use technology more than ever before, and we don't have to worry about signing up for a computer lab. We don't have to worry about, okay, well, will there be enough technology? And the apps are just unbelievable. They're able to demonstrate mastery of the content in ways that we were unable to let them do in previous years.
So as you can see, there were some really amazing things that happened this year at Columbia Academy and will continue to happen next year. So that's what I'd mentioned. It's really about creating those relevant learning experiences for the kids using the technology as a tool. Also, we had a survey that went out to parents and got some parent feedback about how they felt the Personalized Learning Initiative went this year. And one parent said, "My daughter has taken a little more ownership in school. This, combined with her being able to look at SchoolView and keep track of assignments, has seemed to help her gain a better understanding of her difficult subjects. And she's excelled in one class to a point where the teacher wasn't sure what to do with her as the rest of the kids were so far behind. She has the tools and ability to take responsibility for the grade she receives, and we hold her to it." So just how that tool is really, in this particular case, given that student the ability to excel in the classroom. A big focus this year has also been on formative assessment and using our learning management system, which is Schoology, so that teachers and students can really gauge how the kids are understanding the content. A parent said a benefit of the PLI is the ability to turn in things electronically from home rather than having to wait. And we just actually made this little video just the other day to demonstrate, sometimes people aren't sure what it looks like in the classroom. What are the kids doing on the iPads? And so this is actually a student walking through what he would do during math class.
Hi, my name is Javion. I'm in the 6th grade, and I'm going to show you how to use our workflow from Schoology and Notability. The first thing you have to do is log in and find your class. And then you watch the video, it will show you what to do. Now it's time for you to do your practice. Then you open it in Notability. You can zoom into your work, and you can also use a text box to type your work. Well, sometimes you might want to use your pen to write the problem out. That's me getting my math on. I'm really good at math. It's super easy to turn your assignment in. You have to upload it to Schoology, then find your class, then find the file, and then upload it, and then you're done. Now it's time for the quiz. Sometimes you might have to work the problem out, so you screenshot your work, go to Notability, and then go to your camera roll, and then add it, and then you do your work from there. When you're all done, it's time to turn it in. Oops, I see I have one mistake. Well, we always can go back and fix it. Oops, gotta go. Time for the next class.
So that's just a little peek into what it would look like for the students doing their work on that device. And when we're done with that video, I said, I wish it really went that fast. Another component of the personalized learning initiative is that engagement piece, that the students are really being engaged in that relevant, exciting learning. A parent said, "My daughter is excited about learning, showing what she has learned, and now she uses the iPad to do her work. She has plans to save her babysitting money to buy an iPad. She has talked to her teachers about what she can do to keep learning over the summer. She's never been this into school. She loves Columbia Academy, and so do I." With that engagement, this tool has been used, as we showed you, with Schoology and doing math. It's also been used for students to create, to communicate what they're learning with others and to collaborate. This one is just a quick video of an engineering project that they actually had to create, design, and build a tripod for the iPad, so it was also relevant for them. And then at the end, they created a video that showed their design process and what their product was. For the dramatic as well, but how many of those 4 C's are just really evident in a video like that, where you saw them go through that entire process of creating something new. Equity is another thing that we were focusing on, really making sure that all the students had access to that device at home and at school. And in our survey to the students, we asked them, is it a helpful tool for you to do homework and learn at home? And you can see that a vast majority of the students agreed or strongly agreed that it really was a helpful tool. And then also just that it's a versatile tool, that they all had different reasons why they thought that the iPad was such an important tool for them. Here's just a couple of them. I think I got a lot more work done than most of the years I've been in school. It helped me to stay organized, and it's easy to keep all your stuff on an iPad than 100 pages of papers in a binder. Because typing is faster than writing. It has helped a lot because now it's easier to research something and it's easier to do projects or assignments. And it's helped me by learning history and learning new methods for every class, math, English, and especially science, and communicating better. So out of their own ideas, what has benefited them this year using those different tools, it's kind of all across the board. All the students kind of saw it in different ways, but they've all really been able to benefit from it. Increasing rigor and leading to that college and career readiness, and asking the parents, what do you think? How is this doing to prepare your student for the future? And again, a vast majority said that they strongly agree or agree with that. My child has become more technologically advanced, and I believe it will be a valuable tool in college and beyond.
So I'm just going to touch on a little bit of the data. We don't have a ton right now. We're just getting into the end of the school year, so there's some things we just don't have yet. But one of the things that we do have is a snapshot from a time period of looking at last year's 6th graders versus this year's 6th graders. And very happy to see a failure rate of 16% less this year with our current 6th grade class. And there's a lot of factors that go into that, but again, this is a new initiative. That's something that is very positive. And this is looking at, again, just the failure rate. Referrals out of class, and what I want to focus on the referrals out of class is not a total number of incidents in the building. It's just looking at merely referrals of students leaving the classroom at the 6th grade level. And we are 6% down from last year. Again, you're comparing last year's 6th grade to this year's 6th grade, and we're looking at a snapshot from the start of school to June 5th is when we took this, but we're 6% down. Again, a very, very positive thing. And there's a lot of variables there, but again, this is a new initiative, and that 6th grade class is something very positive to see. Attendance, and this one, again, it's a positive thing to look at when you're looking just again at the 6th grade class. We had a 1.3% increase in attendance, so kids were in school more, they were in class more, comparing last year's 6th grade to this year's 6th grade. Again, very, very positive. So from a data perspective, those are the 3 points that we have. The other things that we talked about as far as looking at data, of course, is always MAP and MCA data. And, we don't have that MCA data yet. MAP data just closed, so we just didn't have that data available for you today. So we do have some lessons learned. One of the lessons learned, true personalization doesn't always fit into our school structures. So we're trying to take this new idea and we're trying to, fit it into school the way that we know school, the way that we are currently doing school, like schedule. We talk a lot about time needed for collaboration, planning, training. You're learning something new. The space itself and how the space itself looks, we've talked a lot about over the last few years. That's a lesson learned for us and we need to continue to work on. It's necessary to set clear expectations and procedures surrounding the use of the device. It can be a distraction. And again, I think that's one thing that we need to continue to work on, but I think we did very well going into it. The role of the teacher has changed, but it still remains essential. The device does not replace the teacher. The personalized learning initiative does not replace the teacher. Still essential. And teachers need time to collaborate. I kind of touched on that. Next steps, we've talked about this when we rolled it out. Our plan was to move to 7th grade, and we will be doing that. We need to continue our professional development support for our staff. They need that support, that everyday support, and they need that professional development time. An expansion and refinement of the hybrid classroom, flipped math classroom. And we say hybrid classroom, i.e. flipped, just because our model of flipping the classroom is a little bit different than your traditional. So those are our next steps going into next year. Dwayne or Amy have anything to add? If you have any questions for us?
Questions, comments? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just noticing, could you go back one screen there? Yeah. The true personalization does not always fit into our school structure, so it's sort of like the kids are, I'm thinking more about like the learning labs over at North Park. Are we considering some sort of a hybrid classroom, or to be able to fit it into the structure? Are you talking more of the structure as far as class times are concerned, or?
I think that's a tough one to really truly answer right now.
I figured as much, but I thought I'd put you on the spot anyway. Sorry about that.
It's much bigger than that. There's a lot to consider, teacher contract. It just everything needs to be considered when you talk about that. And again, we're talking about, looking at elementary kids versus now looking at middle school kids, different subjects. It's a lot. I would say that there are conversations happening about what that change is going to look like, but I know that there's no decisions on what exactly that is going to be. We're still learning. We're 1 year into this initiative. I even say, coming into the next school year, we're going to learn a lot now that we have 2 grades with it. So, I think it's going to take us 2 to 3 years to really learn, to really truly start making solid decisions in that area.
We've got 2 years. 2 years, yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I'm just kind of excited about seeing what it's going to be like. So I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep asking about it.
That's fine.
Good. This looks awesome.
Do you feel like the kids adapted pretty well to the new style of learning? The indications are that they really, caught on.
I would say so, for sure. I think that the kids really quickly grabbed onto the different ways that things were being taught in the classroom, and that the teachers are trying to catch up in a lot of ways. And so that's where that professional development piece has really come in, because the kids are ready for it. and the teachers are excited as well.
I can see that. I mean, but you're taking kids out of a traditional classroom setting and putting them, you know, the iPads in front of them, and again, challenging the teachers as well to keep the kids busy. I personally lived the iPad experience throughout this year, and all my, I guess, reaction to it was positive. I would love if you get that thing to, not only, I realize you have that opportunity to turn in homework from home, but how we make sure that that happens. I think that's probably more of a parent piece than a staff piece. But I'm hearing great things about you. I hear Miss O, Miss Amy, and obviously your work's cut out for you now this coming year with 2 grades full of the iPad. So as a parent, real pleased with the process this year. So
Thank you. Yeah, Tom.
Is personalized learning in all the courses they take, or just math or science? Or
It looks different in every content area. This, especially with the first year, when we did our professional development in the last spring, really wanted to give teachers that opportunity to be creative and kind of see how it would work the best in their content area. And so I think it's probably been the most prevalent in math and science and engineering, but there's definitely elements of it in all the core subject areas.
okay, so it's probably a matter of the teachers getting more familiar with
Exactly.
how to use them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of heavy use in the social side, at least in the class for my students. So, and it was fun watching them doing the little slinky thing. That, you know, obviously they either were doing that already, but now you're seeing it, and the creativity that they're using, combining it with the iPad.
Are we able to use SchoolView more now that we have the iPads?
Yeah, that was actually one of the comments that I noticed from students is they, a lot of them mentioned that they were able to check their grades and keep up on their missing work and their assignments that they needed to do. So that was a theme that I saw running through there, is we did set up all the 6th grade students with their SchoolView accounts on their iPad so that they could check it. Again, there's no excuse. So
Right.
it's kind of like, the kids don't always like it, but it's really helpful for them to stay on top of their work.
Well, maybe they can teach their parents too at home.
That would be great.
Well, they don't always tell their parents they're looking at them either until the parent looks at them and they go, yeah, I know, I looked at that this morning. So, but Schoology was a big piece of it too. I mean, combining all those different things together. So
I just want to tell you, one of the things I absolutely love about it, as far as it being a parent is concerned, is my son actually will show me what he did in school. And then he'll show me the progress that he made on a project over the course of a week or 2 weeks or whatever. And this is the way I started, and this is what happened next, and this is what happened next. And this is somebody who got a little bit faster than I was, and this is when I beat them. You know, so it was really neat to see how they're I mean, because I suppose as a parent or anybody walking into a classroom, I don't think you get to see the same interaction that you would if the kids are just in class learning. And it's really nice to have those pieces, and those videos are great, by the way. I loved them. So it's...
And one of the things I love about being able to use these is that teachers are free to help the students during the class time, and they don't have to deliver all the content. That's very powerful.
Are there other schools that are a little farther along in this process that we could capture learnings for professional development, or even some of the structure changes that could be needed? That's some things that we might want to look for people that have kind of already been through this. Do we know? I mean, I know it's fairly new everywhere, so.
Yeah, and I think that I wouldn't say everybody is taking a different approach to it.
Okay.
But we were very mindful of our approach and focusing in on the personalized learning initiative and focusing in on the components of the curriculum there, and how we implemented things, and trying not to focus on this is a one-to-one iPad initiative or tablet initiative or laptop initiative, and that's typically what you see. And they talk about all the other things that go along with it, but that seems to be their focus to start. And so those are the things that we tried not to. I mean, from a slow rollout, we saw some of that in Spring Lake Park, for example, and a larger scale slow rollout, but a slow rollout, and we took note of that. We visited a school in Minneapolis that rolled out at a middle school one-to-one, and they also did a very procedured rollout, and we took some notes from that too. So we are drawing from other systems that have already rolled out, the do's and the don'ts. And, but a lot of it is kind of our own, which works for us.
Well, and if your focus is a little different than theirs, it's kind of, it's not an apple-to-apple comparison, so, thank you.
Couple of quick comments. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I agree, Laura, the videos were outstanding, so congratulations. Very nice presentation. I could watch it for hours, actually. Second thing is I think these tools are going to keep improving. They're going to get smarter, better, faster, bigger, et cetera. The apps are going to get better as more and more of these are integrated into schools. The software available, all of that is going to increase, and I think you know, it's great, but at some point it's going to be a challenge, because I think it's going to challenge our notion of what school day learning is, you know, with these tools, because these tools aren't going away. I mean, you know, a lot of the kids probably already had either iPads or something similar at home, or smartphones or whatever. So I mean, it is going to be and is a way of life for a lot of people. So personally, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to when iPads are in the checkout lane for $5.99. It will happen someday. I remember calculators being, you know, $75, $85. Probably most of you guys don't remember that, though.
Remember that.
And it only had 6 places.
And it also will be a part of society for a long time, so.
Right.
They need to know how to
Exactly.
adapt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next up, the board will be presented with the K-12 activities update. Our own Matt Miller, our K-12 activities director.
Good evening, Chair Bardell, Superintendent Kelly, members of the board. Tonight, I'm going to give you an update from the activities department. I'm going to start off with the participation numbers for this spring. I did add some band numbers and some choir numbers. The spring musical that I got to enjoy here at Columbia Heights, and then also I'm going to talk a little bit about the Spotlight Award winners that Kathy and I and Mr. Robleski and Mary Bussman went to last night. But we are maintaining. I'll go to the both extremes. Baseball, we're low this year, and track, we're high. So, but we are maintaining in numbers. Again, my goal here is to always increase our numbers here in participation at Columbia Heights Public Schools. Some updates. I'm going to give it. I'm working with Casey with the communications director for our website. We are in transition of a new conference with the Tri-Metro. So the systems, it's taking a little while for all the new schedules to get, to have Columbia Heights transferred from the North Suburban to the Tri-Metro conference. Brian did give me clearance. He's not here right now, but to have a activities and athletics tab on the main website. So if you have questions about anything of activities, you can go to our district website and it will be on the front. And then this will be, my office will continue to work on online registration, and that is training our students and parents how to register online. It is fairly seamless once the parents understand how to do it. But I will push each year that all students will register online. There was a concern of our bleachers not being all the way pulled out at the high school during events. And I met with Tom Foley, and we are going to just adjust the scoreboard table and push it against the bleachers, so the bleachers will actually come all the way out. So there won't be any safety concerns in our main gym at the high school. Some news about district football. This is only regarding the sport football. So we are in the Tri-Metro Conference, but in 2015, the state of Minnesota is going to district football, and we are in District Twin City. We are in the largest district. There are 28 schools in this district. Scheduling has not started yet, but there's a meeting June 19th at the State High School League that myself and Matt Townsend will be present to discuss scheduling with these schools. Number of games won't change. There still will be 8. So that's not fall 14, that's fall 15. So this year we have our schedule already for this year. I'm going to talk a little bit about our camps. The only way to get healthy at the high school level is really to have my coaches offer opportunity for our kids over the summer so they stay in shape and work on skills. We are running a strength training program in the mornings, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Our girls' varsity basketball coach is running a league on Monday nights. Mr. Townsend is running a football camp throughout the summer, offense and defense. All this is on our activities webpage too. Lacrosse is running on Monday nights, and our boys' basketball coach is running workouts too. I'm currently in conversations with the gymnastics coach and new volleyball coach to have opportunity for our kids to participate in the summer. A couple of successes here, and we talked about Synchro, and I'm jumping around here. Synchro, our trio team, took third, which was amazing. Those senior captains worked really hard. I surprised Don tonight, and I brought my track guys, so they might come back next time. But they did take third in state on Saturday at Hamline University in the state meet in the 4x100 meter relay. So they did come out third, and that's David Dixon, Jared Baptiste, Basil Mohammed, and Darius Mock. So they really ran well. And then after the 4x100, Basil got back on the track and ran the 300 hurdles, and he took fifth. So that was quite amazing because it was like back-to-back, and he still performed very, very well. And then jumping down to tennis, Blake Keither, 10th grader, made it to the state tournament this year in tennis. I spoke with the tournament manager there, and he said he's never seen Columbia Heights on his board, and he's been the manager there for 28 years. Wow. So we reached a milestone in our tennis, so that was pretty fun. Softball, I did talk about this a couple weeks ago. We made it to the section finals, 1 game away from the state tournament. It's the first time in a long time we've had 3 all-conference picks and 3 honorable mentions. Baseball, this season we're a growing program. The one thing I would like to highlight, and Coach Shuck is coaching right now out on the baseball field, he is running a summer program, and our baseball coaches are all in-house, which that's, again, one of my goals is to keep in-house coaches and to recruit teachers to coach up our athletes after school in activities and athletics. Girls lacrosse had a trying season, but their highlight this year was beating Spring Lake Park at home. That was really exciting for them. Arts, the Gold Keys was Jackie Anderson and Andrea Palmo. And the Gold Keys, that's a national recognition. So that's bigger than the All-State Awards for their portfolios and artwork. The Expressions was going on at Silverwood Park, and that was a K-12 showcase, and that was up for about 2 weeks. I talked to Diane Scully, and one of the nights there, they had over 900 people there, so it was quite the show. The spring musical, we received 12 Spotlight Awards. These awards are compared to the state level, so they're state awards, and we had 12 of our actors and actresses. They did perform last night at the Orpheum Theater in Minneapolis, and I was a proud activities director watching our kids perform with the best actors and actresses in the state last night. That's about it.
All right.
Any questions?
Questions, comments from Matt?
Just great to be able to highlight so many students.
Yeah,
So well.
it's been a fun year.
Yeah.
Our kids really performed well.
I got a question. Is the, you said we're in the district schedule in
Yes.
2015. Is that mandated by the high school league?
Yes, it is.
So we had no choice?
Correct.
Okay.
Everybody that has a football team in the state of Minnesota is in a district.
All right.
I just want to take an opportunity to say thank you. I know this is your first year and it was a huge learning curve for you, but at least what I pick up on it, you've done a nice job, so thanks for your hard work.
I appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, and thanks, Matt. Appreciate you coming in.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda, the board will be presented with information on the Northeast Metro 916 Health and Safety Levy. Bill Holmgren, Director of Finance and Operations.
Director Bardell, members of the school board, Superintendent Kathy Kelly. We're going to start to talk a little bit about next year. This is really just kind of an update so you're aware of what's coming down the road. As you're aware, we are members of District 916 and helping out with their buildings and their health and safety projects. There's a small piece of our levy that flows over to them for their health and safety projects. I've included in your packet the actual resolution that we will ask you to pass 2 weeks from tonight. Also, the amounts are included in there of what they're looking at for this next year. For fiscal year 2015, they're looking at $86,000. That's actually a decrease from their projection of over $100,000 a year ago. So that's good news for us. The actual levy amount for us is $5,500, and we were projected, actually, last year we paid $7,000. So it's actually a decrease to our levy, not a huge decrease. It also helps that we have a new member also in 916, which is Fridley Schools, and that helps also bring our cost down because they share in that cost. Yeah, I know it's not very much, but.
Two new members.
Oh, the two,
Actually,
who's the other
since
member?
the last time we did this.
Ah.
Forest Lake,
Well,
yeah.
anyway, that's part of bringing it down too.
And Hudson. They don't have a vote, but they pay dues.
Okay, so anyway, so our we'll be down about $1,500 for the levy for 916 for next year, and we'll bring that to you in 2 weeks to take action on as we get ready for next year's levy. Any questions on that?
Questions, comments?
This is required by the state, correct? The health and safety?
Yeah, health and safety, remember, is the health and safety of our school buildings. And 916 itself, even though they are an intermediate school district, they can't levy themselves. So all the member districts pitch in their portion.
And I believe that there's a ratio for how many, it's like by student count.
It's actually two ways. It's 50% on how much we use the membership or how many students that we send there, and the other is the actual volume of the students that we serve, yes.
All right. Questions, comments for Bill on Metro 916 Health and Safety? All right. Thank you, Bill. Now we're going to present the board with information on the Area Learning Center physical host.
Yeah. We need to update our physical host agreement. As you remember, this is our first year that we are the physical host for the ALC as it's moved from down on 40th up to, I think it's 71st. And University Avenue. This past year was just our kids involved in that ALC. Next year, Spring Lake Park is going to also come in with us through 916. And what's going to happen now is we're actually going to get a small payment for actually being the fiscal host. This past year we weren't, and they're all our kids. The agreement I bring you in 2 weeks, it's word for word the same agreement, except that we'll be being paid $8,400 as being the fiscal host. So that helps our business office cover the costs of doing the work.
All right. Any questions about that? Comments?
I didn't know about that.
So the fiscal host then basically for everybody is we manage the finances of the ALC?
Actually, we are very, the fiscal host is, that's a little misleading because it's not a really huge part. We actually just take care of the revenue side. We don't take care of the expenditures. All the expenditures run through 916, but the revenue for the students that are enrolled at the ALC, all the revenue flows to our district. And then we turn around and give that revenue to 916. So we have to make sure that our upfront, our projections are right for the number of students, so that we're receiving the right amount of revenue as we go through the year, and then we pass that through us. So actually, I only cut 5 checks a year to them, so it's not a huge amount of paperwork, but it's a little more on the planning side that we take care of for them.
And the reason why we're doing that is why? Is because someone has to do it, or?
It's because, yes, a district has to do it. They can't do it themselves, and we are partnered with Spring Lake Park now also, and they need a district where they can, for MDE can run the money to, because they can't run it directly to 916.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Thanks, Bill.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda, the board will be presented with information on the ESEA grants for 2014-2015. Dwayne Burkus, Director of Teaching and Learning.
Thank you, Chair Bardell, Superintendent Kelly, members of the board. The ESEA stands for the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. It's also referred to often as No Child Left Behind. They do provide dollars for us in the form of the title grants. So tonight I'm here to talk just a little bit about the upcoming budget, as Bill was, for the next school year. So I will return with an action item, but just to give you a preview then of what we'll be asking for. Title I, the first of the titles in the ESEA, is used for children that are struggling. It gives them that equal opportunity to obtain a high-quality education. And you can see there that it also states reach a minimum proficiency on challenging state academic achievement standards. So Title I is really where you see the accountability coming from the federal government, where they have tests that they apply to this then, and can have some consequences for schools if they're not meeting their targets. So what are the key activities then that we're supporting with our Title I dollars? You'll see in just a moment our budget, but really we use these dollars to help support teaching through actually employing teachers in science, elementary science, in EL, and in reading. These are teachers then that are paid out of our Title I to help accomplish that goal that we just saw. In addition, we do set aside dollars for continuous improvement. When schools don't reach their target, there are certain things that we do have to put in place. Plans are created at a building level for that, and those would include things like staff development. It would include perhaps intervention teachers. There's a multitude of ways that it can be spent. And finally, the other key activity is parent involvement. So our budget that we're proposing then, we'll be proposing again as an action item next week, or at our next board meeting here, is here in front of you. You can see that we do get an annual allotment. We do carry over some dollars, usually from year to year, and you'll see then that we have most of our dollars with teachers or the set aside for school improvement, substantial amount though for parent involvement as well. You'll see that there are dollars there also for Immaculate Conception. That is required by law that we share those dollars with any private schools that are part of within our district. We also get Title II through ESCA. Title II really is about professional development. It's about improving our teaching and teaching staff and principals. So with that staff development, the key activities that we will support through this proposed funding is classroom embedded coaching, training sessions, and a small amount of consultative service as we develop our early college program at the high school. So again, you'll see our budget with the new dollars, the anticipated carryover, and with most of those dollars then in salaries for our own staff who help with the staff development, a small amount for Immaculate Conception staff development, and then you'll see the early college professional consultative service there for professional development as well. Finally, there's Title III. The purpose of Title III is really to support our English language learners. So this is really where we're looking at helping those students through additional funding to reach English proficiency and be able to meet the state academic standards. So our key activities here, mostly it goes into teacher support. So we have our lead teacher who is paid through this, staff development, program development that the lead teacher mostly is responsible for. A reading program, our summer reading program is has been going on now for about, must be about 7 or 8 years, I believe, that we've been running it, where we have EL teachers go out with bags of books. They visit families, they read to the kids, they leave the books there, they come back the next week and do the same thing and exchange those books for new books. It's a way for us to incorporate getting to know families with supporting literacy throughout the summer. And then finally, there's also dollars used for family involvement as well in this. So you'll see this a smaller dollar amount for us with a smaller anticipated carryover. You can see that the lead teacher salary and benefits is where the vast majority goes. Then summer reading and family involvement for our Title III. So I don't bring that as an action item tonight, but we'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Yes, with the Title III, that's aimed at assisting with the EL students. How many students are participating in these particular in this particular? It doesn't seem like a whole lot of money.
It's not a whole lot of money.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot in Title I, of course, but we have a huge second language population. So, are we able to reach these students? I mean, I can see that we can. You know, we're having some great success over at Highland and so on. But can you address that?
Yeah, it's not nearly enough for the needs that we have. We do have other places that we draw funds to help pay for EL teachers in the district, but as far as Title III goes, it's a drop in the bucket, quite honestly, for our needs. It does provide some additional funds that can be used to help lead the program to make sure that it's on the right path, but it is, we're about a quarter of our kids that are EL, and you know, some grade levels, it's over 50% of the kids are EL, so it's definitely not enough. But we, unfortunately as well, have seen a decrease in this amount. It has been dropping over the last few years. I don't think it has, well, it can't really have anything to do with the number of students. I believe it's just at a federal level. There's just less money coming through these programs.
Yeah.
I'd just like to make an additional comment, Chair Bardell and members, that the purpose of the Title III, and actually all of the titles, are to supplement, not to supplant, and so that they would say that they augment our budgets. The state, if Minnesota has had a bang-up year this last year for it not being a fiscal session, they really concentrated on both LEP, which is limited English proficiency, financial support, as well as policy support. And so they have elongated, instead of for the first 5 years, it's now to 6. And they did not increase the amount, but we think that as long as Senator Torres Ray keeps looking at that we may have more financial support coming our way. At least that's something that we are going to keep pointing out. In addition to that, some of our fabulous opportunities with our LEP and our ESL students come out of compensatory dollars. of which we do receive a fair amount of dollars. So we are out of the superintendent's office right now figuring out what our LEP allocation is, limited English proficiency and compensatory, to make sure that we can cover all the bases. But I want to agree with Director Burkus, for a district our size, there is never enough in whatever category there is. So this is something we'll definitely have to be back at the legislature again to remind them that English learners need additional support, because it just as Rome wasn't built in a day, language support isn't either. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Sure.
Thank you for reminding me about that. I had forgotten about the extension of the support services for language learners.
Yeah, thank you for clarification. I just was afraid that the path we were headed down was that we weren't taking care of our students because the money's decreased, and I knew that wasn't the case, that it is to supplement what's already there, that there's programs that are in place that we feel are effective, and this is in
Yeah, I'm
addition.
sorry if I didn't mean to.
No, I
give
was
that
more of the
impression, but
question,
yeah.
the direction it was headed from here, not how you were answering the question, not at all.
Well, it is an area, I think, in our district where we've done well because we have invested in dollars to make it work. I believe our elementary program in particular, as Superintendent Kelly said, with our compensatory dollars has been, there's been a solid commitment there to having enough support so that students can access, even if they're large in number, that they have enough people there to really impact their learning. And we've seen the results of that. It is an area where I think our school district can be proud of the work that's been done there over the years. Yes, in this budget, I think in Title III, the main thing that we've done, I believe, with our Title III is really to try to supplement through providing the strongest leadership that we can. And I believe you know that our coordinator, Jane Reardon, who is here talking about family involvement and also takes care of our EL program, does a marvelous job working with this. And it's a program, again, that our district has supported very well and continues to. So thanks for making sure I clarified that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to see family involvement is in here again. I think that's key to that's foundational. Are we continuing programs with this budget mostly? Are we starting new programs?
Really, in the upcoming school year, there's not really too much new that we're starting. The area that, I'll just flip back real quickly, that where we might possibly see something new is in Title I. You can see that we have that set aside for school improvement. Those plans are developed when you are designated for that, and so buildings are able to help build that plan. It's possible then that they would come forward with some ideas that we haven't done before, but by and large, what you see here is very similar to what we had in place this school year. So not big changes in the proposed budget to you.
And what is the early college professional development again?
Early college is a program that we would love to, and we are in the process of developing here, where students would be able to receive their associate's degree, their AA, while at our school. So you, of course, can do that through PSEO, but we would be offering those courses on our campus here. We'd be teaching them with our teachers, and it would allow students to graduate if they so chose, with that degree in hand. So they'd graduate with 2 degrees, the Heights diploma and their AA diploma. So it's an exciting program that we have a fabulous person that's working with us, who's one of the most knowledgeable people in the state in how you can do this. So we're very excited about the work that we'll do in this upcoming school year in that area with her. Yeah.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
All right.
The way that high school was originally designed, the last 2 years were going to be more preparation for college.
Yeah, I think it fits really well with the whole emphasis that we're putting now on college readiness and, really being able to show people that you could go to those first 2 years of college without leaving your high school. So, yeah.
With a huge financial benefit too
Yes.
for our students
Yeah,
in our district.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dwayne.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Next agenda item is the board will be presented with information on our communications plan. And our presenters this evening are Superintendent Kathy Kelly and our Director of Communications, Casey Mann.
Chair Bardell and school board members, I'd like to welcome Director Mahan to the meeting tonight. We've worked on this for about a year, and so we are very excited to be able to share some of the highlights with you. You have before you the 2014-18 Comprehensive Communication Plan. This has been a year of work distilled into a very workable document. You have it at the table. It's also electronically available. We just felt we wanted to give you something concrete tonight because it's like our baby that we're bringing forward. The 22-page plan runs from the introduction to the contact information at the end, and there's a great deal of meat in between. And we hope to give you the highlights, because if we were going to go through every recommendation, tactic, and strategy, it would be tomorrow morning. And so we thought that we'd give you just a taste of that. And in keeping with creating worlds of opportunity for every learner, we are hoping that this plan will help us align to our mission even more congruently than we have in the past. Where I'd like to flip to is really the executive summary overview. And when we were putting this together, we were reflecting back that the 2014-18 plan, communications plan, is comprehensive, and so therefore it supports our school district by providing directions for improving both internal and external communications. The objective of the district communication strategies really is to advance the strategic roadmap of everything being aligned, and then build, maintain, and enhance public understanding and support for the Columbia Heights Public Schools. If we go to internally, the plan provides for recommendations, strategies, and tactics to help employees be informed and to provide methods that they can tell the story. And you'll see that that is going to be terminology that will be now ever present in communications, the recommendations, the strategies, and the tactics, and they come directly from the communications audit. Externally, the plan also does the same thing. The plan provides recommendations, strategies, and tactics to more effectively communicate and build relationships with our external stakeholders. And then in this plan, we have tried put a great deal of effort into having measurable tactics so that objective analysis can determine the strengths and challenges needed to improve communications within the district. When we look at the communication in the ideal, communications is the responsibility of every stakeholder, and this plan supports stakeholders in communicating the district's story. The communications department will oversee the plan. District stakeholders will be involved in its implementation and its success. And we want to have a disclaimer that the plan does not and cannot identify all variables. And so the district's change may significantly change in the 2014-18 timeline period. If something happens, we will alter the plan. So this is a framework. I'd like to pass the baton to Casey to talk a little bit about alignment.
Board Chair Bardell, members of the school board, Superintendent Kelly. This comprehensive communication plan is completely aligned to the strategic roadmap, and especially to the components of the mission statement, the core values, Vision 2015, and strategic roadmaps. This graph is intended to illustrate that it's all encompassing in terms of what the plan will do in supporting. The plan also is in alignment with the school district's core values from a communication standpoint. So following this, recognizing that community is comprehensive and that effective two-way communications is necessary for mission success. That sharing stories of excellence of students, teachers, programs, and schools, providing examples and seeking partnerships that reflect effective collaboration, demonstrating integrity through transparent and authentic communications, showing respect through tactics that reflect the demographics of our district community, reflecting courage by addressing sensitive issues that are in the best interest of students, creating or supporting programs of innovation that tell the Columbia Heights Public School District story. And then also, we have guiding principles embedded in the plan. And the first is communication must be tied to the district's strategic plan. Strategic communication and public relations are management functions. Strategic communication requires research and evaluation to be woven throughout the communication effort. And the communication effort should be focused on engaging constituents to take action on behalf of our students. And internal communication must be a priority. People programs are proven to be more effective than print and mass media when it comes to building supportive relationships and engaging audiences to action. Two-way communication about issues build trust among constituents. A combination of school building level and district level communications constitutes the most effective public relations effort. And technology should be used and enhanced to support an efficient, timely, and effective system of communication. Now, we have what we call desired behaviors and attitudes, and these are really what we would call
The ideal.
Thank you. It's
I can read his mind. We've worked on this so hard.
Whoa. First, the internal. We would like our internal staff and stakeholders to understand and support district and school communication procedures. We'd like them to consistently participate in the communication process, to engage participants in achieving the strategic roadmap's mission, vision, core values, and strategic directions, and to exhibit Heights pride in the strategic direction of our district. And externally, we'd like our stakeholders to help tell the story of the Columbia Heights Public School District, to exhibit community pride and trust in our school district, to be collaboratively involved and engaged in schools in our district, and to choose to enroll and remain learners in the Columbia Heights Public Schools District. We'd also like them to understand the challenges, the opportunities, and successes of our district, to provide us feedback and support to improve Columbia Heights Public Schools, and to support our district in achieving its strategic roadmap components. Superintendent Kelly?
I was just thinking back, and those of you that have been on the board for a while, or those of you that have been in the community, will remember that we, in the years 2002 through 2004, had to make some severe cuts. We were in statutory operating debt. In addition to that, it was very hard financially at the legislature. And so at that time, the communications department was one of the things that was put on the list of cuts. And really, the communications department being reestablished in 2013 is really a gift. And I really want to thank the board for allowing that to happen. In doing that, the focus has been this year to first create a communications department. And the second thing was to really complete that communications audit. And I want to thank all the people that were involved in that, the board as well as community stakeholders and internal. We developed a district-wide comprehensive communications plan by June 30th, which you see in front of us. And so with that, we have the reestablishment of the department and the completion of the comprehensive plan, and the district has a communication structure in place to support the strategic roadmap and guide communications throughout the district. So we've met all of our objectives this year, and it was kind of a push toward the end here, but we are committed to what you have in front of us, in front of you tonight. The focus, if we relate this back to our mission, vision, core values, and strategic directions, really is the communication department will focus its resources on district priorities as they align in strategic direction E, which, as many times you've heard, is tell our story. brand development, reputation management, and, of course, to increase partnerships and enrollment. Casey?
Now, as we build our communications program, we need to know who we are communicating with. And these we call our target audiences. And within this list of approximately 30 different groups, this is our starting off point. As our program grows, so will our target audiences. So we wanted to give you just a moment to be able to give you an idea that as we work our messaging and such, we tailor it for different audiences. And now, we're going to get into the heart of this plan, which is the 9 recommendations. These are structured over 4 years in annual increments. What I'll do is I'm going to walk us through each and explain the steps that we intend to take. So looking at this chart, you'll see that the first recommendation is implement a strategic communication plan that reflects best practice in school public relations. So 2014, 2015, we're introducing that, which is what we're doing tonight. And for the following years, we're going to continue to focus on that communication plan. The second, expand a culture of communication. Again, we're going to introduce that recommendation this year, and it will be a continuous focus, not just through the next 4 years. This is something that should always be ongoing. Number 3, expand outreach to parents and community. Again, introducing and with a continuous focus thereafter. Create a crisis communication plan based on best practice. I had mentioned when I reported out on the audit that we do have a district crisis plan. This is a crisis communication plan that supports this. And the plan is to introduce this in 2015, 2016, focus on it through 2016, 2017, and then maintain it from thereafter. Quite honestly, once you build the plan, the communications plan, then it's pretty much maintaining. We will continue to integrate social media into the communication program, and I need to tip my hat to everybody who was before I came along, all the great work they did with the social media. What we're doing now is we're taking it and we're just going to integrate it into the communication program so that it's going to be that much better. So the first 3 years will be on focus, and then we'll maintain that. Number 6 is expand the use of video as a communication tool. Our intent is to introduce that in 2015, 2016, although we're already starting. And then there will be a continuous focus with video. Number 7, continue to refresh the district website. We're still building it. That will always be a focus. Number 8, develop a marketing plan and incorporate effective marketing and branding strategies in a communication planning. We're introducing this in 2014, 2015. We'll continue to focus for the next 2 years and maintain from that point on. And of course, as we have new initiatives and such, those will be introduced as well. And number 9 is exploring additional paths to engaging diverse populations. And again, hats off to our departments and schools that have been doing this. They've been doing a great job. From a communication standpoint, our intent is to come in and help them make those programs even stronger. So there'll be a focus. So that gives you an idea on the 9 recommendations. And so what we want to do now is to show you the template on how we're going to work this. So if you look at this, you'll see we have a recommendation followed by a strategy, followed by a tactic. Now I'm going to peel the onion a little bit, and we're going to go to recommendation 3, expand outreach to parents and community. And we have 11 strategies in this. We have a total of 47 strategies altogether. And I'm going to walk through this. So strategy 1 is establish an electronic outreach system for external audiences. Strategy 2, create a print newsletter that is mailed to all residents. Strategy 3, implement a key communicator network. Strategy 4, include school district news and key messages in school newsletters. Strategy 5, hold listening lunches or coffees in the community. Strategy 6, expand efforts to translate information to non-English speaking parents. Strategy 7, provide news inserts for business and community publications. Strategy 8, make a special effort to connect with parents who are not actively involved in schools. Strategy 9, implement a speakers bureau that community organizations and businesses can tap for meetings and conferences. Strategy 10, create a See for Yourself program. And strategy 11, develop an outreach campaign for real estate agents. I do want to note that, and I mentioned this during the audit, that we already are working on several of these already. So now, to make ourselves even more accountable, we developed a series of tactics to show what we're doing. So using the same example, I have two here. Establish an electronic outreach system for external audiences. Tactic 1, establish an e-newsletter aimed at parents, community members, and community leaders. Tactic 2, create translated editions for non-English speaking audiences. Tactic 3, create and implement a uniform schedule of delivery for the year. And we have 144 tactics total in this plan. A second example is expand outreach to parents and community. And tactic 1 is to create a set format, and tactic 2 is create and implement a uniform schedule of delivery. There will actually be a lot more than this, but we wanted to give you an example. Now, when we do all this, we need to know how well we are doing. So we have built in approximately 20 evaluation tools, and these tools will actually grow as the program grows. But we wanted to give you an idea of some of the tools that we will be using to measure our progress. And with that, Superintendent Kelly?
For purposes of time tonight, we didn't go through all of the recommendations, the strategies, and the tactics. I know that I'd like you to know that we're emphasizing this, and it came right out of the communications audit. This is a 4-year plan, and so therefore we're going to segment this on a year-to-year basis. So we'll peel off 1 year, and we will make assignments to administrators and buildings and appropriate stakeholders, and once we dialogue about it on who is responsible for that, so we can come back and see has it been completed, who is responsible for it, and so that people know know their responsibilities within the plan. It's kind of refreshing. The district administration will actually be able to look at something very concrete and saying, here are the steps and here's what we're going to do. The operational plan will be overseen on a day-to-day basis and on a year-to-year basis. We are going to start by doing this Friday the 13th, which is our administrative meeting, on Friday, and overview the plan with them. And when folks come back in August, we will be doing this with an expanded administrative core and buildings. And the comprehensive communications plan will be evaluated on the strategies and tactics. And as I say, this is our first blush with this in a good many years, but it feels really good to have something very, very concrete. Just this last year, I think we've made tremendous strides over the course of this year, so I can't imagine following this plan that we won't make even bigger gains. We're going to be sure that this plan will be posted on the website. And what we'll probably do is peel it off a year at a time to make sure that people see what we're working on. And then we'll send it to the individuals also that were involved in its development so that people can actually see the fruits of their labors. And so at this time, we'd pause for questions, or I like to say points to ponder, if there's anything that you'd like to chat with us about.
We're going to be, we just formed a subcommittee for doing meet and greets, you know, coffee with board members and regular scheduling and stuff like that. I know that this is outside of the district, that's more school board stuff, but would we be able to, I mean, we would probably want to be able to coordinate this into the plan as well.
And I think we do have a tactic and a strategy that really address lunches and coffees and conversations. And once your subcommittee comes back with recommendations, that's why it's a flexible document, we'd say, where does that
align?
fit?
Yeah.
Just like your, the school board information that is presented, the school board report has come up under yours. We'd be counting to see how many points of contact and things that people were reading that, and you'd be looking at how many people are attending your sessions, et cetera. So it's living. That's what's really nice about it. It's organic, and so therefore we'll just be able to add as we go.
Yeah, Ted?
Yeah, I guess I'm very pleased that we were able to take the results of the audit and incorporate them in our communication plan. So we're listening already. We're hearing what the community has to say, and so that's fantastic. And I just see this as continuing that and enhancing it and turbocharging it. So
Exactly.
it's exciting.
I just, in looking at the guiding principles, I think it's, as a board, I think it's important for us to understand that, you know, we have that district strategic plan that everything is being built around, recognizing that the strategic communications and public relations are the management functions, and we find a way to, wherever we fit in with our listening sessions, things like that, into your communication plan. So I just think that we're definitely headed the right direction.
Thank you.
I just want to share, I'm sorry. I had a constituent tell me today that she noticed the reputation and the communication of the district is greatly improved, so just want to share that's working.
Oh, thanks for sharing that.
Good to hear.
Yeah. My comment was, I was, based on your presentation and based on the handout, it's obvious to me that a lot of thought and effort went into putting this together. And lots of hard work, as you mentioned, Superintendent Kelly, over the years. So thank you both for your diligence and your efforts in putting this together. And we'll look forward to the fruits that will come of it. So thank you.
And once again, I would like to thank each and every one of you and all the people out there that helped us with the communication audit, because it really helped us define our work.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.
Thanks, Casey.
This is a beautiful presentation.
It is, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. All right, board topics.
I guess at some point, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It'd be nice to see an update on the Gifted and Talented initiative. I don't know if any progress has been made on that, but
They still are working on that, so I think that'd be something we'd probably do at the beginning of the year. Because the pilot is going on at Columbia Academy, and I know that some of the work in the early college and some of the things that link from that are being developed out, and I know that there's a formulation of a committee, a parent committee. But I think that it would be probably in our best interest to take a look and address that in the fall, so we'd be happy to do that. It's just, I think there's going to be some work over the summer as well.
okay, thank you.
I know you
I have one
have
little announcement, and that's just a personal school board announcement reminder that graduation is tomorrow night. And we're just asking if you'd please report to the superintendent's conference room no later than 6:30. On tomorrow night. We'll have Principal Robleski there to give us a little bit of our marching orders, as always, and then from there, we will be participating in the graduation and marching in with the class, so it's very exciting. And so I know traffic is always an issue, and parking is as well, so plan accordingly. And I think Principal Robleski will be there at 6:30 to give us our directions.
I'm actually trying to remember, did we decide if we're just gonna go street close or?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, okay. I just couldn't remember because I was kind of ambivalent about which way we
Yeah.
went with it.
Hopefully we'll have good weather.
Huh?
Yeah, hopefully we'll
Yes,
have good
fingers
weather, yeah.
crossed, yes.
I said, I forgot to mention it, just like the groundbreaking thing, but Columbia Academy, they had, it was, I guess, a short play acts, I believe it was called A Night of Absurdity, that they did, and the kids did a really nice job with that. It was, and if I got the name wrong, I'm sorry, but it was it was a really interesting evening, and the kids did a really good job, so I want to make sure they knew that. We appreciate that.
All right. We will see you all tomorrow night, no later than 6:30, Superintendent's Conference Room, and we'll adjourn at 8:58.